is to introduce our three panelists, get the discussion started by some questions that I have, and then give you, the listener, the opportunity to participate by using the chat function, which Rebecca will be monitoring, and we'll check back with her. I do welcome our panelists and those attending the event live, as well as those taking advantage of the recorded event. Thank you for taking the time with your Mount Pleasant Chamber of Commerce to join fellow members in looking at real-world, real-time strategies and tactics to help you sell and serve your key clients and customers, as well as new prospects in this post-pandemic climate. To sell and sell well is challenging in just about any business climate. I think most business people would agree, especially with the sheer number of choices buyers have these days. That challenge and others are certainly true for our three guest panelists today. I'll introduce them by name, ask them to say hello, and ask them to share one key benefit that the current disruption has given them. Our first panelist is Sylvia Darby. With her husband Daniel, Sylvia opened Foundation Fit, home of CrossFit Wando, in August of 2010 by enclosing their garage for a personal fitness training business and operating group fitness classes on a field nearby. Within a year, they rented space for almost 2 more years before buying their current location at the end of Long Point Road in Mount Pleasant. With their combined educational backgrounds in engineering, psychology, nursing, and fitness, and their faith as their rock, they have expanded and refined their location, their coaching team, and their business model to change people's lives. They remain the home of CrossFit Wando, now also offering personal training, youth strength and conditioning, and nutritional coaching. Sylvia and Daniel have 2 children, with a third on the way in July as they enter their 10th year of business. They feel they're doing God's work in educating, leading, and supporting individuals to live out the best version of themselves. Sylvia, welcome. And tell us maybe one good thing that's come from the disruption.
Hi, John. Thank you for the introduction. I would say, as a business owner, I think most of us can agree, it is the slowdown. Just being able to focus on the right things instead of everything, and the ability for myself, I have been able to make decisions faster. My mind is not as clouded and pulled in so many directions of what I feel is important. And they haven't been reactive decisions. They've still been thought out, educational decisions, but they've been so much easier to make and move forward. So I might be making progress in different areas why things are closed down, but it's just been a clearer mindset for sure as a business owner.
Great. Sylvia, thank you so much. Our second panelist is Tim Dunn. Tim is a 20-year veteran of the mortgage industry and serves as the branch manager at Success Mortgage Partners in Mount Pleasant, with a second office in Miami, Florida. With a focus on residential lending, Tim and his team work with first-time home buyers, investors, and anyone looking to purchase or refinance a home. Tim lives with his 2 daughters in Mount Pleasant. He's a native of Buffalo who also spent 15 years in South Florida and is a graduate of Florida State University. Go Noles. Tim, welcome. How about a benefit of the disruption?
Hey, John, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's interesting because back in the beginning, end of February, beginning of March, if everybody remembers, the Fed was lowering the interest rates. Everybody was, 0% interest rates, but ultimately drew a lot of business to us. So really picked up a lot of refinance business. Of course, our purchase business was really strong during the beginning of the spring market. And people were coming in my office that are other businesses outside it, and they were asking me, how are you guys doing? And we couldn't keep up, to be quite honest with you. We're super busy. Within a couple weeks of that, it started coming to affect us. People were losing their jobs, people were getting furloughed, which ultimately scared the investors in our industry to where we started scaling back on some of our credit score requirements and things like that. So overall, it's, we're fortunate in the business we're in because these interest rates are so low. The market technically hasn't slowed down a whole lot. We did see a little pullback in some of the first-time home buyers with lower credit scores, higher debt-to-income ratios, but across the board, just been super busy.
Great. Tim, thank you. So glad to have you today. Our third panelist is Michael Cochran. Growing up in South Carolina's Low Country, Michael attended local schools and earned his Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from the Citadel in 1993. Following a college internship, he spent 10 years in state and federal law enforcement and community corrections in the Charleston area. Transitioning in 2003, he moved into outside sales and ultimately customer service management. After a decade in the auto glass business as a location manager, Michael transitioned once again to serve the community, now as a Farm Bureau insurance agent. While he's not at work, he enjoys spending time with his bride. He is also an avid outdoorsman, published outdoor writer, and conservationist. Michael, welcome, and give us one benefit of the downtime, the disruption.
John, good afternoon, and thank you so much for having me. As an insurance agent, especially with Farm Bureau, we're a hands-on company, very conservative, and our bread and butter is meeting people across the kitchen table. That has all changed, as we know. And one of the benefits that we've seen right now is we've had to reinvent ourselves in a lot of ways. The ways we handle our paperwork. We're now looking at DocuSign more heavily than ever because people just aren't available person to person. So that's one area. I mean, looking back at the old book, Who Moved My Cheese? Our cheese has definitely been moved. So we've had to reinvent ourselves in a lot of new innovative ways, and we've had to do that very quickly. We've got some amazing folks on the back end at our home offices in Mississippi and in Columbia, and they have just rallied around us, the producers in the field, to make sure that our clients that trust us are taken care of. So we're one thing that we've had to do is what we're doing right now, a Zoom call. This is new for us. Having to talk sales over the phone or through Zoom versus across from each other in the kitchen table is very different for us. So we've had to adapt. So I would say that the one big positive is that we've had to reevaluate our priorities and make changes quickly and effectively to better serve our community.
Michael, thank you. That's being nimble on your feet, isn't it? And so many of us have had to do that in so many ways. So thank you, Michael, and thanks to all three panelists for taking the time today to share some thoughts and insights. Here's the first question for the panel, and Sylvia, we'll start with you. What is the single biggest hurdle you expect to face or you're already facing as you work through this extraordinary time?
Sure. I would kind of chime in behind Michael and say, our gyms are different. There's lots of platforms in which people reach out to stay in shape. And some people like the virtual world and they like working out in their home. Some people are very individual exercisers and just like to run by themselves. But the model of our gym and our community and our business is not that. And we set out for it to not be that. We're a community. We're a community that thrives off being in the presence of one another, whether it's motivating you to push outside of the boundaries that you think you have, or it's mental therapy. There's a lot of therapy that goes down in the gym and a lot of problems that are solved and a lot of motivation that is found person to person. And our sales are done that way as well, because we're not a gym where we sell you a membership and don't care if you come. We don't work off volume. We work off quality, and we want our members to be there. We know when they're there, and that's what makes us tick. So to take that away, we've definitely had to be creative and stay connected to our members and keep them on a schedule and motivated. But it isn't how our gym works. So it's been difficult to embrace that, because there literally is a big piece of our passion that's just kind of gone right now. And I think it's gone for our members as well. And it's gone from the community of people that are looking for that on a day-to-day basis in the form of, the sales that we make, to be able to show you the facility, experience the community before you join. None of that can happen right now. So it's been a little difficult to take away that human actual contact that we thrive off of. And a lot of times we get feedback from members about that so much of their world is virtual. A lot of them work from home. And the reason they come to the gym is it's their 1 hour during the day to connect with people like face to face. And it's a highlight. And that's gone right now. So it's hard.
You know, that's going to be a homecoming of sorts, isn't it, Sylvia, when it's finally time to come back?
Yes, definitely.
That's very exciting. Sylvia, thanks. Tim, same question. What's the single biggest hurdle you're facing or you expect to face as we work through this time?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, there's a lot of different hurdles that we're figuring out along the way. I think for me, going back to what Michael said, probably 10, 15 years ago, I've been a phone jockey, right? So, for me, I don't meet my clients face to face most of the time. With the millennials, they prefer to do an online application. They upload their documents for us. They e-sign the disclosures every day of the week, right? So sometimes I never even meet the clients, but I have a personal relationship with them on the phone. Now, today, with some of the realtor partners that I work with, we're doing more Zoom calls now just to keep that coffee appointment that we might have done a month ago. So some of the other hurdles I think are just, people that unfortunately are still furloughed or they had a small business or going to go out of business, just for us to encourage them and let them know that you might not be able to get a house today, but we'll still be there for you when the time is right. Keep the clients and our referral partners in tune with the guidelines, because they're changing all the time. We've went from as low as a 580 credit score on our government loans to, pulled back within a couple weeks to a 660 credit score. And now we went back to a 640. Now today they told us we're back to a 620. So it's just changing every day. So it's just information and education and just keeping people in the loop.
You're working with a moving target of sorts there, Tim.
Yeah, it is. I've been in the business for, like I said, 20 years. The one thing that's constant in this business is change, and we're used to it. So if you're new to it, it's a bit of a challenge. But if you've done it for a while, you just know you just got to work through those challenges.
Wonderful. Hey, Tim, thank you. Michael, same question. What's the single biggest hurdle you expect to face or you're facing already in this extraordinary time?
Yeah, and I'll echo back on the first part is, the legalities of the document signing. I mean, I do a lot right now. We're doing a lot of refinancing, home refinancing. We're doing a lot of home business, probably more than we've done in a year. It's very strong. And, making sure that the legalities are all there for signing those documents. And like I said, our home offices are working hard to make sure that the DocuSign is in place where it needs to be. And that's on the functional side. For me as a producer, I would say that one of my biggest hurdles right now is finding the balance between being reactive to the customer's needs that I already have on my book and proactive on new business, whether that be finding new clients or new opportunities within my own book of business. And when we're having we always have a heavy concentration of business when we have our existing book of business and we take a look. Our clients want us to find holes. Where do we have holes that we need to fill? Umbrella policy, some increased coverage over here, whatever the case may be. And now it's really a focus because doing a lot of that service where we have clients that call in and say, hey, how can we tweak our policies, to pay a little bit less, but have the same coverage or whatnot. We have some clients that call in right now and they're like, hey, we want more coverage and we want more life insurance. We want more long-term care, those types of things. But for me personally, as a producer, the biggest hurdle that I've got is that balance between being reactive to customers' needs and the proactive side of generating new business.
Thanks, Michael. So that balance, that trying to keep the new business coming and making sure that you're taking care of your existing clients, that's a juggling act at best.
Sure.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you all. Let's go to the next question. Tim, we're going to start with you here. What's one key thing you're doing now in the current and business and economic climate that prepares and equips you for the work ahead? One key thing you're doing now.
I mean, I just go back to, I think I've been doing that one thing, you know. I think it's just, you know, when this happened, you know, a lot of people are scrambling, having to work from home and, you know, not being able to go to the office. And, you know, for me, I mean, I work out of my office half time, I work out of my house half time, I got young children. So for me, it didn't really affect me because of that, you know. So I think for some other people that it did affect them, and trust me, I get it, because it's a struggle with them at home, you know, to get my work done. But I'm used to it. I've been nimble with it through this whole time. I think for me, just to continue to stay consistent and you know, keep my head up and keep making my phone calls, stay in front of my clients. Do more of those Zoom calls, be consistent with my calls, and I'm not really going to miss a whole lot. And hopefully those guidelines will ease up a little bit, and I can help out my first-time home buyers. If that happens, these rates are super low, so we're fortunate in this time, because if these rates were high, I'd be telling you a different story.
That makes good sense, Tim. Thank you. Sylvia, same question. What's one key thing you're doing now in the current business climate that prepares and equips you for what lie ahead?
Wow, it's hard to nail it down to one. I think the obvious with the kind of business that we have is the cleanliness. You know, you think of gym, we keep our gym pretty phenomenally clean all the time, but this has taken it to a whole nother level. So you want people feeling safe coming back, and it's going to be a very personal decision for a lot of people. You know, some people have taken this whole pandemic one way, others have taken it a different way, and then everybody's dealing with something different personally. So I think it's just kind of meeting the customer where they are right now and setting up the structure of the gym so that people feel it is a safe environment that they can come back to. That's more just on the cleanliness of everything that's going on. But as far as just the connection and the sales and what we do, it's just been really clear communication the whole time. Connecting to our members, staying connected to our team, because again, we're a little bit of a different gym. We don't just have staff that come in and work their hours. We're a big family there. And so the athletes that are members of our gym are really connected to our staff. So it was important to keep those relationships going over this time, whether it was through Zoom calls, whether it was through emails or text or messages from me, just to keep the relationship strong, even though we're physically apart. And I'd say the final thing would just be routine. We preach to people that, you know, your lifestyle and your health is a habit. That's all it is. And you either have those habits or you don't have those habits. And so this was a great opportunity to walk the walk and say, do those habits only happen in the four walls of our gym, or do those habits happen when life happens? Because life just happened, and we need to figure out, you know, how to navigate this, and everything doesn't go out the window. So we provided, you know, workouts and communication and structure for people outside of the gym to help them stay accountable to what we preach inside the gym.
Thanks, Sylvia. And once again, when it goes against the very core function of your business, which is bringing people together for the purposes of changing their lives, that's a tall hill that you're climbing. So thank you. Michael, let's see, same thought, right?
Yeah, it's Michael's turn.
Michael's, thank you. I'm losing my place. One key thing, Michael, you're doing now that prepares and equips you for the work ahead.
Certainly. One of the keys to any successful sales professional is the badge of honor of receiving a referral. You know, in Tim's business, that's incredible. In Sylvia's business, it's a must. Getting those referrals to come in and have the same experience that your clients have had. One of the things that is a key for me, since we can't go to networking events, we can't go to breakfasts, we can't go to those after hours type things now, it's very important that I work on those key referrals from my current client base, and that I do a good job for them, and that I ask for that referral. And that's something that I've got to work better at and get better at, is being able to consistently, and Tim hit the nail on the head when he talked about consistency, is consistently asking for those referrals, because it's not as easy to go out and meet somebody and shake a hand and exchange a business card, because right now in the business climate, that's just not a reality. Will be in the future, but right now that's not where we are.
Thanks, Michael. And yeah, once again, when you're confined, the whole networking function takes on an entirely new level of challenge. So your point is very well taken there. And yes, referrals are the lifeblood of business in sales and virtually everything you do. So we all could benefit from more of those. So thank you. Let's go with one. Rebecca, any questions, any thoughts? Let's give a break and see what's up with you.
Yes, I actually do have a question. All three were talking about how they're staying in touch with current clients and also potential clients through referrals. Are any of you having to do some cold calling where it's brand new people you've never talked before because you can't get to a networking event? How are you handling that for that brand new potential client?
Thanks, Rebecca. Tim, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I mean, I have a schedule, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, of who I'm going to call. I mean, some days I'm just calling brand new real estate agents to try to introduce myself and set up those coffee appointments and try to, find a way to earn business from them. And it's just a random phone call, introduce myself. A lot of times, I'll throw a name out there of another real estate agent, another realtor in their firm or somebody, to try to make it more of a warm call. Then there's times I'm going to call, CPAs or divorce attorneys, and sometimes it's tough. You might make 100 calls and get a hold of 10 people. But again, I have a schedule that I do on a consistent basis, and that's the key is making those calls. Nobody likes to get hung up on. Nobody likes to get no. But in my theory, I've been doing this so long, the more no's I get, the closer I am to the yes. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it. Just having that schedule and sticking to it.
Making it a habit, which is what Sylvia said in terms of fitness. So is that what you also do, Sylvia, in terms of cold calling, or how do you not being able to network right now?
Sure. Fortunately, there's been positives and negatives to this whole event. Fortunately, a lot of our prospects come from social media. People just, trolling on their social media, seeing things that we post, us speaking to them about who we are and what we do, and they reach out that way. The downside to right now is a lot of people, they have had, incomes cut. And so they look at what the necessities are in their life. And unfortunately, a lot of people think health and working out in a gym is not a necessity. And so that is one of the things that gets cut first. But the positive I feel to everything that has happened is by slowing down the population, a lot of people have had some reflection time. And now they're starting to realize how important their health is and their family is, and the things that they hold close, near and dear, that, wow, what if that was gone tomorrow? So I've had people reach out to me through Facebook, through Instagram, that are not members right now, that either moved to the area or are just looking to step up their routine and have a little bit more accountability. And they recognize we're closed right now, but they're reaching out anyway because I can tell their wheels are turning and something has been added positive to their priority list. So that's been a benefit in our sales, and not being able to be out on the streets and see people, at functions, is I think people are reprioritizing what's important right now.
Thanks, Sylvia. Michael, any thoughts on that?
Yes, sir. Great question. One of the biggest things is for us is I've been reaching out to mortgage brokers like Tim. I've been reaching out to realtors because right now that's where the business is. People are refinancing, people are buying homes, money's cheap, and that's been an area. So I've been calling more of those folks that I don't know on the cold call side, and trying to get those folks, into a conversation that we can talk about our product line and what we do and what we can offer the clients, and ultimately, hopefully, our clients, if things worked out. That's one area on the property and casualty side. on the life insurance side, that's a whole new ball of wax right now, because people that I've talked to in the past that weren't very interested, now they're interested. Life has shifted. They understand how fragile life is. And I've got folks that have called back and said, hey, let's revisit that. And that gives me an opportunity to do our needs analysis. One of the things we specialize in with what I do is funding of buy-sell agreements between business partners. So calling more businesses, cold calling more businesses that I haven't talked to before is now more of a priority. Hopefully getting those referrals, but to Rebecca's point, making those cold calls, and Tim hit the nail on the head again. It's not always fun to make those calls, but it's just one step closer to that yes, but you have to make the call. And like in Sylvia's business, you have to get off the couch. It just doesn't happen by sitting there in the house. You got to go do something. And so we're working, I'm working to get out of my comfort zone maybe a little bit on those cold calls, but putting the work in to hopefully make the connections that we need, because people are thinking differently, as we've discussed.
Thanks, Michael. And so saying it isn't doing it, right? There's a big difference between the two of those. Walking the talk is where this all is. Thank you. And Rebecca, thanks for that question. Hey, one final question I'd like each of you to field, if you will. What one thing would you recommend that others in business similar to your own do or don't do as we live and work in the current new normal? And Michael, we're coming right back to you on this one first. We'll go to Tim and then finish with Sylvia. What one thing would you recommend that others in business do that similar to your own, do or don't do as we live and work in the new normal?
The biggest thing that comes to my mind is keep working. Don't stop. Don't take your foot off the gas pedal, mash it down and go forward, harder than you've ever gone, because people right now, there are people that are hurting, that is for sure. There are other people that are looking to make changes, and they're looking to make them quickly, and you need to be there for them to be able to help them as quickly as possible. So that's one thing, definitely to do, is to just keep moving forward. I think one thing, not to do would be to second guess, or to think, oh, that person doesn't need it, or maybe, they're having a tough time. Still reach out to them, and don't forget about engagement. People need to be engaged. I've got a group that we have lunch every Friday, or used to have lunch every Friday. And that's really hard, because we've been apart for now 2 months almost, but it's forgetting about the time that we had that we can't be there physically anymore. We should still make those calls, still reach out via text. So don't stop reaching out to folks, because they definitely need that friendship and that camaraderie.
Thanks, Michael. Tim, how about you? Do's and don't do's.
Yeah, I mean, ditto for what he said, as far as, kind of get to work, just keep grinding and making the calls. And, one of my owners of my company had made a comment about the tough times, right? He says, in these tough times, there's going to be 3 things that will happen. People are either going to flee, they're going to freeze, or they're going to fight. There's going to be people in my industry that, because the guidelines change, we're going to quit and go do something else, right? There's going to be other people that are going to freeze. We're just going to, not do anything until things get a little bit better. And then the rest of us are just going to fight through the challenges, just make the phone calls and, keep these referral partners excited and know that we're here for you, and because they're struggling, so I think that's, what Michael said, though, is key, is, just fight through it and go to work, and everything will come. It's going to get better. It's just going to take some time.
Thanks, Tim. And Sylvia, same question, do's and don't do's.
Yeah, I think it's important for you to look and see where your customer, whatever line of business you're in, is right now. Because they're saying, some people, everyone has reacted to this differently. And some people have come out just fine. Some people have come out ahead, and some people are coming out real behind, upside down, turned around. And so I think it's important when you're making business decisions about what you're offering, the flexibility of what you're offering, packages, rates, whatever, that it's important that you really try to see the person in front of you and where they are at the other side of this pandemic. Because that's going to open your mind to what you can offer and how your business can be successful. You might have a new customer right now. It might not be the same person you were selling to a month and a half ago. And then you still might have some of those same customers. But I think along the same line of that, it's important to not sacrifice your quality. So you might need to adjust some things and change directions, but you still need to have that compass of who you are and what you do and what you stand for and the quality. And if it doesn't fit into that, then maybe it's not an option. And times like this can sometimes cause you to be reactive. So to step back and just really run everything against that background to make sure you're still making decisions that are good for the long run and for who you are.
Thanks, Sylvia. I think you've all really captured what I'm referring to as the paradox of the pandemic, in that it is critical for us, and what I'm hearing from each of you is consistent with this. It's critical for us to be steady in a time of flux, but simultaneously we've got to be open to change and adapt to what we're doing to how the market is moving. Sylvia, to your point, ask your customers, get in front of them, make sure that you're in tune and in step with them, because as Tim said, some of them are fleeing, some of them are freezing, and some of them are getting to work. And you want to know where each of those critical people in your field is so that you can address them in a like manner, right? You don't necessarily encourage everybody in the same way, Sylvia, because you've got people that are already on board and they're working out every day. You're maybe just giving them content and things to do with the time they've already set aside. Tim, same way, you're encouraging realtors, but you can't necessarily move somebody who doesn't want to move. So you go with the flow, right? You help them understand that you'll be there when they need you, but you also want to make sure that you're in touch with the others. And Michael, you don't want to be a stranger at all to people that know you and appreciate and trust you. So you've got to be in touch with them and see where they are with all of it. I think your point in particular about the fact that something as threatening as the pandemic has been to many people really puts us in touch with our mortality in many ways. And as a result of that, the protections that you offer make a big difference. So Rebecca, thank you for the question. If you don't have anything further, Rebecca, I'm going to ask our panelists for a final thought. Rebecca, are we ready for that?
We are ready for that. I thank everyone for their time today. Thank you, John, Carroll, as always, for lending us your talent expertise, moderating the sales pivot. Thank you for bringing your talent as a strategist and growth consultant and owner of Unlimited Performance. We appreciate you greatly, the Mount Pleasant Chamber. I also just remind folks that are listening, we have another webinar tomorrow at 3 o'clock on how to avoid computer hacking schemes. So apparently they're quite prevalent out there right now, and they're getting quite sophisticated, unfortunately. So it is something that our members ask for some information on, and we're having that tomorrow at 3. Thanks again for everybody's time, and I'll let you close it out, John.
Thanks, Rebecca. And this final thought, I'll ask Tim and then Michael and finally Sylvia. What final thoughts, panelists? Tim, we'll start with you.
Yeah, my final thought is I think this is awesome what you're doing today to bring us on to share with the community, with our members of the chamber, and hopefully we can encourage somebody and reach somebody out there. I mean, from my standpoint, I would say, listen, I mean, right now, if you're in the market for refinance or purchase, give us a shot. Kathy Christmas works with us. Who doesn't know Kathy Christmas, right? In this time, I told Kathy about this too. We would certainly, for our members, we would throw an added benefit of, paying for the cost of the appraisal for somebody if they're looking to do something like that. And I'm not trying to throw a sales pitch out there, but from my standpoint, we're excited about what the future holds for the mortgage industry. We don't see the interest rates lowering or going up anytime soon, especially during the challenging times ahead. So we're excited, and we look forward to working with everybody. And again, just want to appreciate your time, John and Rebecca. Thank you very much.
I'm glad to have you. Thank you for joining us. Michael, final thought.
Yes, sir. I would say be safe, be kind, and be steady to those around you. And embrace the changes that we're having and use them as opportunities to sharpen your sword and get better at what you do and help, improve everybody in your team. A rising tide raises all ships. And right now, that's probably one of the biggest things that we can do as business leaders is to, be steady, be kind, and be aware of the needs of others and enjoy it as much as we can. Just enjoy it. Life is too short.
Agreed. Michael, thank you for your time. Glad to have you. And Sylvia, final word, final thought?
Yeah, I think I'm unmuted now. I'm going to refer back to a mutual friend of ours, John, what Bruce was saying last week about how the best is yet to come. It's not what's behind you, it's what's in front of you. And I try to wrap my mind around that just with daily living. It's not the mistakes that happen today. It's not the downs of business that happen today. It's what you're going to do about them. Are you going to sit still? Are you going to, reflect on everything you missed and everything that's bad and everything that's been taken away? Or are we going to look at everything we've gained from this, 45-day period of a lot of really good stuff? And it all comes down to what we do with it. And it's up here. So I'm excited. I've gotten a lot of answers over these last 45 days personally, for my family, for my business, because I've chosen to put my head there. And so I'm excited, and I'm excited about what the future holds. And I think there was a small blessing in all of this, and we got to look at it that way.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Sylvia of Foundation Fit and CrossFit Wando, Tim Dunn of Success Mortgage Partners, and Michael Cochran with Farm Bureau Insurance for your time and participation today. Thanks to all of our chamber members with us live and those catching us on the recording. And a big thank you to Rebecca Imholtz and Tamara Cornwall for keeping the Mount Pleasant Chamber of Commerce out in front and serving our members in the community. Thank you and goodbye.